The thrilling story begins with a bus moving continuously through the night. However, there weren't many passengers inside. Inside the bus, we see a woman named Anna, sitting comfortably. Another man named Freddie was also seated in the same bus. Both were strangers to each other and weren't even looking at one another. Suddenly, Anna's handkerchief falls to the ground, and Freddie helps pick it up. This small moment sparks a conversation between them, and soon, they shift to the side seats, talking more casually. As their conversation continues, Freddie starts to like Anna and tries to learn more about her. At first, Anna is scared, as Freddie is a stranger. How could she talk to someone she just met and share details about herself? But soon, Freddie takes out his pencil and paper and quickly sketches a beautiful drawing for Anna. Freddie, being an artist and a comic book writer, impresses Anna with his skills. She begins to talk more freely with him. Anna works as a hardworking nurse at a hospital. In a short time, both of them develop a strong friendship. Later, they realize that they live in the same town. Their mutual respect and small gestures bring them closer, and they become good friends. However, suddenly, the scene changes, their bus meets with an accident, and everything goes blank. The story then shifts to Anna's childhood memories, where she is seen happily spending time with her mother. But abruptly, Anna wakes up to reality. She realizes she is already late for work and quickly gets ready to leave for the hospital. But something strange happens. She notices that there is no one around. Even when she reaches the hospital, there are no patients, no doctors, nothing. She is completely shocked and confused about what is happening to her. Outside, there are no animals, no birds flying in the sky. It's as if the entire world has gone silent. Where has Anna ended up? She has no idea. She frantically checks every place, but she doesn't find a single person. Fear starts gripping her as she realizes something is terribly wrong. Anna, in complete shock, started running around frantically. At this point, she began to wonder if she was still dreaming. After wandering aimlessly for a long time and finding no solution, she decided to go home and sleep, hoping that after waking up, everything would return to normal, and she would be back to her regular life. However, when Anna wakes up after some time, she hears strange noises coming from the house next door. As she steps outside, she realizes that nothing has changed. She is still in the same eerie situation, where everyone around her has disappeared, leaving her completely alone. Driven by curiosity and fear, she moves toward the source of the noise to find out what's happening. Suddenly, a man appears in front of her. It's none other than Freddie. Anna is overwhelmed with relief upon seeing Freddie. For a moment, she had started to believe that she was truly dead. Freddie, too, explains that he has been experiencing the same strange occurrences. There is no one around, and they both seem to be trapped in the same terrifying reality. Realizing they are in this together, Anna and Freddie decide to check on their families and friends by visiting their homes. But every house they enter is completely empty, confirming their worst fears. Anna then suggests that they should go to the police station and file a report. Perhaps the authorities might help them or at least provide some answers. Without wasting time, they head straight to the station, only to find it completely deserted as well. Now, both of them are left wondering, where have they ended up? Is this reality, or are they stuck in some kind of dream? Inside the police station, Freddie finds an old radio and tries to establish a connection, but there are no signals. Their search yields nothing useful, except for a gun that Freddie discovers. For protection, he decides to keep it with him. With no other leads, Anna and Freddie decide to leave the town, hoping that going far away might help them find some answers. They get into a car and start driving towards the outskirts of the city. However, as they travel further, they suddenly come to a halt. What they see ahead is beyond anything they could have imagined. Right in front of them stands a massive black fog wall, stretching endlessly in all directions. The other side is completely invisible, as if the world beyond has ceased to exist. Freddie stepped out of the car and walked toward the black smoke to touch it, trying to understand what it was. As soon as he touched the dark mist, it began seeping into his body and moving through him. However, he didn't feel anything at that moment, but he quickly realized that it was something extremely dangerous. Without wasting time, he rushed back into the car and told Anna, "We need to get out of here. This black smoke is dangerous." The smoke was slowly advancing, expanding its reach. They immediately drove in the opposite direction, trying to escape. However, as they drove further, they witnessed something shocking. The entire city was being consumed by the black smoke, slowly engulfing everything in its path. They had no idea how destructive this fog could be, but it was clear that soon, it would cover everything. Fearing for their safety, they turned back and drove into the city, believing that staying there was a safer option for now. As they entered the city, Anna suddenly told Freddie to stop the car. She had spotted a restaurant she knew very well. Without hesitation, they both rushed inside. To their surprise, they found many people sitting inside, enjoying their meals as if everything was normal. Anna, feeling relieved, approached them, hoping to get some answers. But the moment she tried talking to them, she realized something horrifying: they couldn't see her at all. No one reacted to her presence, as if she were invisible. Confused and scared, Anna started observing the restaurant carefully. That's when it hit her: this was the very same restaurant her mother used to bring her to when she was a child. Meanwhile, outside, Freddy was desperately trying to ask the passing people for help, but nobody noticed him. It was as if he didn't exist. As he wandered around, he found a flyer for a carnival on the ground. Without thinking much, he picked it up and kept it, sensing that it might be important later. Inside the restaurant, Anna continued looking around when she suddenly saw something that froze her in place: her younger self, sitting at a table with her mother. She had somehow stepped into a vision of her past, reliving the moments when she used to visit this place with her mother. Overcome with emotion, she reached out to touch her mother's hand. But the moment she did, everything around her vanished. The restaurant, the people, everything disappeared in an instant, bringing her back to the empty, eerie reality she was trapped in. Both Anna and Freddy found themselves trapped in this strange situation. Anna speculated that maybe they were hallucinating, which was why they were seeing such things. But Freddy had no concrete evidence to support or deny this theory, so he remained uncertain about everything happening around them. Freddy then warned Anna that the black smoke, which was slowly engulfing the city, would eventually spread everywhere, plunging everything into total darkness. He needed to figure out how much time they had left before this happened. Freddy began making calculations, measuring the speed at which the smoke was advancing. After careful estimation, he concluded that in exactly 3 days, the entire city would be consumed by darkness. This realization filled them with fear and urgency. To survive, they decided to find supplies and headed to a nearby supermarket. They knew they needed food and water to last for as long as possible, so they began collecting whatever they could, for free, since survival was their top priority. While gathering supplies, a disturbing thought kept circling in Anna's mind: what if we're already dead? Could this be why we are seeing these strange visions? She voiced her concern to Freddy, but he immediately dismissed the idea. "I thought the same thing at first," he admitted, "but it doesn't make sense. If we were dead, we wouldn't remember anything from our past lives. But we do, we remember everything. That means we are still alive." Their conversation continued as they tried to make sense of their situation. Suddenly, Anna remembered something important, something related to her hospital. Without wasting another second, she grabbed Freddy and rushed toward the hospital. Once inside, they made their way to the recording area, where patient records and medical updates were stored. Anna played one of the recordings, and what they heard sent shivers down their spines. A doctor's voice echoed through the speakers. "These 2 patients don't have much time left. They will survive for only 3 more days, after which their life support systems will be turned off." Although this realization was tricky to process, Anna and Freddy understood that the recording was about them. That's when a dark reality was revealed to them. Due to the bus accident, both Anna and Freddy had suffered severe injuries and had fallen into a coma. They were now unconscious in the real world, and according to the recording, they had only 3 days left before they would die. Everything they had been experiencing, the empty city, the strange visions, was happening inside their subconscious minds. Freddy needed confirmation. He checked his heartbeat, knowing that a person in a coma has an extremely weak pulse, almost negligible. After verifying the reports, his worst fears were confirmed. He and Anna were both in a coma, and in just 3 days, their life support systems would be shut off. That was why the black smoke was approaching. It symbolized their impending death. And the reason they couldn't see any other people in this world was because they were the only ones about to die. Anna and Freddy were completely shocked. They felt like all hope was lost. The chances of coming out of a coma were extremely low, and they were running out of time. But Anna refused to give up. She tried to motivate Freddy, insisting that there had to be a way out. "If we focus and fight back, we might be able to wake up before it's too late," she said. Freddy, who had almost lost all hope, started to feel a flicker of determination. "We have 3 days," he said. "That's all the time we have before they turn off our life support. We need to wake up before then." Determined to fight for their lives, Anna and Freddy decided to do the only thing left, to walk into the black smoke. It was terrifying, but they had no other option. As they reached the dark wall of smoke, they stepped inside, moving forward despite the fear clawing at them. For a while, they saw nothing but darkness. After a short while, they saw a massive wall in front of them, with a door placed at its center. Just below the door, several keys were scattered on the ground. One of them would unlock it. Instead of sitting idly, Eddie picked up a key and attempted to open the door. However, the door didn't budge because he had chosen the wrong key. Just then, Anna pointed out an ancient stone nearby, wrapped tightly in heavy chains. Both of them were confused as to why the stone was there. As soon as they reached out to touch it, a terrifying scream echoed from behind them. It wasn't a human voice but the roar of a monstrous creature, which was slowly approaching them. Anna and Eddie were filled with fear and immediately ran out of the black smoke. They jumped into their car, trying to escape as quickly as possible. But suddenly, that same terrifying creature emerged from the black smoke, using its chains to try and stop their car. The creature was bound, preventing it from fully stepping forward. Eddie pressed the accelerator with all his might, speeding away from the scene. For the time being, they had managed to escape from the creature. Eventually, they reached a store, where they started gathering supplies. Anna then shared a thought with Eddie: maybe everything around them was being created by their own minds. Whatever they thought, whatever they imagined, seemed to shape this strange world. She recalled how she had once mentioned that there must be a door leading out of this place, and sure enough, they had found one inside the black smoke. However, Eddie didn't focus on her words for now. He continued collecting supplies, determined to stay prepared. As they drove through the streets, Eddie suddenly spotted a house. It wasn't just any house, it was his own childhood home, the place where he had once lived with his family. Strangely, the house looked even better than he remembered, almost as if it had been restored to its former glory. So, without hesitation, Eddie rushed inside. As soon as he and Anna entered, they began experiencing visions. They saw a younger version of Eddie, and suddenly, his father appeared, telling little Eddie that they would definitely go to the carnival. That meant the carnival flyer Eddie had found earlier was connected to this memory. Now, Eddie and Anna knew they had only 2 days left. Without wasting any time, Eddie took Anna onto a boat, trying to escape through the water. However, after a while, they realized there was no way out. The black fog surrounded them on all sides. Worse still, the terrifying monster was lurking within the fog, ready to attack them if they ventured too far. Feeling completely hopeless, they returned to the house and sat in silence, waiting for their inevitable death. Eddie and Anna had almost given up, but then Eddie turned to Anna and said, "Even in this difficult situation, we should stay together. If we stick together, we can make things right." Anna found comfort in Eddie's words. They started sharing memories from their past. Anna revealed that, as a child, she loved writing plays. She used to write different stories and perform them on stage. However, she had stopped writing and performing entirely after a tragic accident. During one of her performances, a terrible fire broke out, and her aunt lost her life. From that day on, Anna never wrote or performed again. Meanwhile, Eddie looked around and noticed stacks of comic books, his own childhood comics. He used to write them passionately when he was young. Looking at them brought back happy memories of his childhood. But time was running out. They had only 2 days left to survive. That night, as Eddie was sleeping, he suddenly had a vision. He woke up abruptly, as if an idea had struck him. Without wasting a second, he rushed to the old comic he had written as a child. Grabbing the comic, he ran to Anna and excitedly showed it to her. As Eddie read through his childhood comic carefully, he realized something shocking. When he was a kid, he had written a horror story about a mysterious door surrounded by many keys. Only one key could open the door and allow escape. The same kind of door had appeared inside the black smoke. Thinking about the terrifying creature in the fog, Anna suddenly had a realization. "I've written about a monster just like this in one of my childhood plays," she said. That meant the creature came from Anna's story, and the door came from Eddie's. Their subconscious minds had merged after falling into a coma, and the world around them was being shaped by their childhood thoughts. Now, they had to complete the story together and find a way out. They only had 1 day left before their life support systems would be shut off, trapping them in the coma forever. One thing kept appearing in their memories: a carnival. Following their instincts, they headed toward the spot in the city where the carnival used to be. As soon as they arrived, they noticed something strange. The once empty streets were now filled with people, but they weren't real. They were just memories playing out in their minds. It was a flashback from their childhood, the time when both of their parents had taken them to the same carnival. Little Eddie and little Anna had both been there that day. Suddenly, Eddie saw his younger self being bullied by a group of kids. They teased him, saying he was too scared to enter the haunted place nearby. Determined to prove them wrong, young Eddie had said, "I can do it. Just show me the way." His so-called friends led him to the supposedly haunted location, which wasn't really haunted at all. It was an old war hospital where wounded soldiers had once been treated during World War II. Meanwhile, young Anna was also shown in the memory, happily playing games with her aunt at the carnival. As they walked through the carnival, the paths of young Eddie and young Anna suddenly crossed, and they bumped into each other. In that brief moment, young Eddie and young Anna had only looked at each other but had never spoken, as they didn't know each other back then. Suddenly, all the visions faded, pulling Eddie and Anna back to reality. That's when they noticed strange, eerie noises approaching them. The terrifying creature was nearby. Without wasting any time, Eddie and Anna ran into their house and hid, hoping the creature wouldn't find them. Eddie peeked through a small gap and saw the creature's shadow. It was enormous, with long, razor-sharp claws. Its presence alone sent chills down his spine. Gripping his gun tightly, Eddie started firing in all directions, hoping to drive it away. However, even after taking multiple bullets, the creature remained unaffected. Fortunately, after a few moments, it retreated into the darkness. As the creature walked away, Eddie noticed something glinting on its body, a key. It was attached to its chains. "This must be the key that unlocks the door in the black fog," Eddie whispered to Anna. If they could retrieve the key and open the door, they might escape this nightmare and wake up from their coma in the real world. But there was only one day left. If they failed, their life support would be shut off, and they would die. Determined, Eddie and Anna devised a risky plan to steal the key. They knew the creature was extremely dangerous, but they had no choice. They went to a supermarket and gathered explosives, along with a large quantity of raw meat. Eddie then stuffed the meat into a mannequin, shaping it to look like a human. "This will act as our decoy," Eddie explained. "The creature will think it's us and attack it. Meanwhile, we'll trap it and blow it up from above." After finalizing their plan, they placed the mannequin in the middle of the road as bait. Eddie and Anna positioned themselves on top of a nearby building, waiting for the creature to appear. Moments later, their plan began to unfold. The monstrous beast emerged from the shadows, its chains clinking against the ground as it moved toward the decoy. Anna watched in horror as the monstrous creature dragged Eddie away. His body was limp, covered in wounds from the brutal struggle. The creature had overpowered him completely, and now it was taking him, perhaps to devour him, or worse, to trap him in this nightmare forever. Tears welled up in Anna's eyes. Her heart pounded with guilt and despair. "This is all my fault," she whispered. She had stepped outside to help Eddie, but in the end, she had only become a distraction. If she had stayed inside as he had told her, maybe Eddie would still be standing. Maybe he wouldn't have been captured. The weight of regret crushed her. For a moment, she felt like giving up. What was the point of fighting anymore? Eddie was gone. Their time was almost up. Soon, their life support would be shut off, and they would both die, trapped in this endless nightmare. But then, a thought struck her. "No. I can't let it end like this." Eddie had fought for her. He had risked everything to protect her. How could she let his sacrifice be in vain? Wiping her tears, Anna clenched her fists. If Eddie was still alive, she would save him. And if the only way out of this nightmare was to fight that creature, then she would do it, no matter the cost. She took a deep breath and scanned her surroundings. The church was old, but there had to be something she could use. Her eyes landed on a rusted iron cross, large and sharp. She pulled it from the altar with all her strength. "This will have to do." Anna ran out into the fog, her grip tightening around the cross. She could hear the creature's heavy footsteps in the distance, dragging Eddie's body along. She had one chance. One final chance to save Eddie. And she wasn't going to waste it. Now, Anna started recalling a vision from her childhood, so she rushed into her house. Inside, we see young Anna with her aunt, performing a play. To complete the play, she had lit several candles around her, creating the perfect atmosphere. She was enjoying the moment, performing with great enthusiasm. Meanwhile, adult Anna was watching everything unfold as she entered the house. Outside, we see the same children who had once told young Eddie that this house was haunted. They were talking about Anna's house. Adult Anna was witnessing all these visions clearly when suddenly, young Eddie picked up a stone and threw it at Anna's house. The stone shattered a window and fell directly onto one of the candles, igniting a fire. The fire quickly spread, trapping Anna's aunt inside, and tragically, she died in the flames. Although young Anna was saved in time, she had always blamed herself for her aunt's death. This guilt was the reason she had stopped performing plays. But now, adult Anna had finally learned the truth. It wasn't her fault, it was Eddie's act of throwing the stone that had caused the fire. She was completely shocked by this revelation because she had spent her entire life believing that she was responsible for her aunt's death. This was why Eddie kept insisting that something tragic must have happened to them in the past. Eddie was right all along. Perhaps this was also the reason Anna could see Eddie's memories within her visions while in the coma. They were truly connected through their past. Determined to save Eddie, Anna rushed toward the creature, finding him in a terrible condition. Eddie, with his last breath, apologized to Anna before dying in her arms. At that moment, the monstrous creature stood right in front of Anna, advancing toward her to attack. But strangely, Anna no longer felt fear. In a way, this creature had manifested from her guilt and fear, fueled by her belief that she was responsible for her aunt's death. But now that she knew the truth, she had nothing left to fear. The creature, enraged, attacked her viciously, but since it was merely a product of her thoughts, Anna, now in control of her mind, overpowered it. She successfully killed the creature, took the key from its neck, and carried Eddie toward the mysterious door within the black fog. She inserted the key into the door, but nothing happened. That's when Anna realized that since they were connected in the coma, they had to unlock the door together. Holding Eddie's hand, she placed the key inside once more, and finally, the door opened. Anna quickly carried Eddie through the door to the other side, and suddenly, everything returned to normal. The next moment, when Anna opened her eyes, she was lying on a hospital bed, undergoing serious treatment. She was in complete shock and couldn't comprehend whether this was the real world or not. Panicked, she ran out of the room and saw several people in the hospital. Desperate to find Eddie, she rushed to another room, but instead of Eddie, there was a different person. At the very least, seeing all these people confirmed to Anna that she had finally woken up from her coma and could now live her life freely. After being discharged from the hospital, the doctors informed her that the man named Eddie had already been released and was at his home. Without wasting any time, Anna went to Eddie's house. However, when the door opened, it was his caretaker who greeted her. When Anna asked about Eddie, the caretaker revealed that he was in a wheelchair because his legs had been completely crushed in the accident, leaving him unable to walk again. Anna immediately went inside to see Eddie, and upon seeing him, she was overwhelmed with emotion. Tears streamed down her face as she hugged him tightly. She told Eddie, "We went through so many terrible hardships, but in the end, we won." However, what surprised her the most was that Eddie had no memory of what had happened. The only thing he could recall was meeting Anna on the bus. Beyond that, he couldn't remember anything else. This deeply upset Anna. Curious and concerned, she spoke to Eddie's caretaker, who revealed something even more shocking. After returning from the hospital, Eddie had begun drawing strange images in his notebook, illustrations depicting an entirely different world. When the caretaker showed the book to Anna, she was completely stunned. Every drawing represented the events from the coma world, the struggles, the dangers, and everything she and Eddie had faced together. Even though Eddie unconsciously remembered all of it, he hadn't realized that the girl in his drawings was Anna. When Anna explained the truth to him, he looked at her carefully, touched her face, and suddenly, realization hit him. She was indeed the same Anna who had been with him in that dark reality. They had both fought their way through that nightmare and made it back to the real world. Overcome with joy, they decided to stay together. Anna had realized one thing for sure: no matter what happened, Eddie would never leave her side. And with that, our story comes to an end.